Welcome to Scrappin with Sheri and page 89 in our sketchbook. I'm going to be using something today that I don't get an opportunity to use very much, and that's the Perfect Kitty Cat collection. I do not have pets. We travel way too much to have pets, but my daughter got a new cat earlier this year, and she sent me a few pictures, so I have to scrapbook Crazy Daisy. Now, I'm going to be using just some scraps from this collection. I have used this for other things because I love this plaid. I really like the starburst design on this. I like the pink. They're just great colors in this anyway. There is very little about this collection that is strictly for pets. Now, this particular page, yeah, it says best cat, buddies, all this kind of stuff. And this blue has little fish bones on it, fish skeletons. So, you know, maybe those are strictly for the animals. But I think you could use this collection for a lot of different things. Now, I have met many people recently. I've met several of you who watch this channel. And it's been really fun because I hear people say all the time, I don't know how to read a sketch. I just don't know how to read it. So I kind of want to take a few minutes today to look at how do you read the sketch. Now, to me, it's very confusing to look at the picture first because they use lots of different products for the picture. So when I look at a sketch the first time, I'm looking at, okay, what do I need to start with? How do I need to begin? And the good thing about this book in particular is the fact that it gives us the measurements. So we know that this top area is a 12 by 6. That's done. Because we know that this is 6 inches, we know that the bottom area is also 6 inches. So right off the bat, we've got our measurements taken care of. And then we see border, border, border. Lots of borders with some detail. Now, don't get caught up in the fact that these borders are circle and then straight and then scallop. That's really just to show you that you need to use some type of border there. We also have a little crooked border here and a circle, and then the rest is just photos. So I think when you start to break it down to the basic elements of your sketch, it makes it a little bit easier to figure out what you're doing. Now, mine is going to be different, and I know that shocks you. This is going to be my background page, and I am going to go back with this pink to make this bottom area here. But I'm not using 3x4 photos or a 5 3/8 by 4. I'm using photos that are a little bit taller. So the first thing I want to do is actually make my base part of my page. And I'm going to do that. This would be my 6 inch. And I think I am going to cut a little bit off of that because I have a plan for it. I had a thought process, but I'm not sure if it would work if I cut it apart. Yeah, I think I could make it work. I'm not going to cut it at 6 inches. And I'm trying to conserve paper just as much as possible. You know how it is to want to save some of that pretty paper. So I'm not going to go all the way out to 6 inches. I'm going to give myself a little wiggle room here. So I'm going to cut this at about 7 1/4. And that's just to give me some space to overlap what I'm going to be doing on the bottom. Now, I do want this to be the top that shows. I want something a little less busy because, I mean, let's face it, all these borders are going to be pretty busy anyway. So I've got this at 7 1/4, and I'm going to cut this bottom part to be about, you know what, the easiest thing would be to cut my pictures and figure out how big they need to be. So I pulled pictures of the cat, Crazy Daisy. She's very interesting. And these pictures I loved because my granddaughter has been a little bit afraid of their other cat, but for some reason she will share her blanket with Daisy. So we thought that was pretty cute. This is my tallest picture, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it down and decide what size I need my paper based on how big this picture is going to end up being. I do know, too, that I'm going to cut a little bit of side off because I don't want these pictures right up against each other. So see, that gives me a lot of space right there. So let's determine the size of this picture. Let's make it a good size that's easy to replicate. I'm going to cut that out of 5. And then all I have to do is cut my other 2 photos out of 5 as well. And I'm going to cut top off of here. Now remember, I don't necessarily cut my pictures down just for the sake of cutting them down. I'm only going to make this as a 1-pager. So I'm not really trying to make these as small as possible because I just don't have a whole ton of pictures. I just want to make the focus, the real focus. I'm going to cut just a little off of there, and that's going to give me a little more pink showing through. Now, these pictures are kind of dark. I'm not wild about the pictures themselves. I did not develop these myself. I had these developed locally, and I just feel like they came out a little bit darker than my usual taste. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, I was going to say I would go ahead and tape these down and then trim, but I know my pictures are 5 inches. I know I don't like tons of border, so I'm going to go at about a little past 5 1/4 on this. Remember, this blue paper we cut at 7 1/4, so we've got a little wiggle room there as we piece this together. I'm going to do this on the back of my cover sheet. So let's piece these 2 onto the cover sheet. Could you have just left this all one piece of paper? Absolutely. And that was my initial thought, was just to leave it all one piece of paper. But I'm okay with the fact that we're using this a little bit more heavily. Now, if you are paying really good attention, like I was not, you know right now I already have a problem. And that's the fact that my pink is not wide enough to put these other borders on. So, we're going to just handle that. I'm going to pull this up and not stick it down just yet. And I'm going to go back and make my borders for the bottom. Now, those borders I'm making using some of these scraps. And I can use a little piece. Oh, that is so crooked. I can use a little piece of this pink on the bottom. And then I want to use a little piece of that and a little piece of this. I'm not going for this scallopy look necessarily, but hey, look, I've got this where I cut it before. So let's use that wavy as the bottom border. Doesn't always happen that easily, but sometimes it does. I'm going to give myself a little pink to go right along the bottom. That just doesn't feel very straight, but we'll try it. So this is along the bottom. I'll overlap this here. And then I'll go back and cut a piece of this to give me some of that starbursty color. I do like that color on there. And then we can put our pink right on top of that and have this layout almost completed. So let's take a minute and tape all that down. One thing I notice about myself, and I see this in me because I see other people that get real frustrated by this. Sometimes you have a plan and you think you know exactly where that page is going, and then it just doesn't end up that way. Either you find a scrap laying around, like, hey, we've got a wave here, or you don't have enough of a piece to finish something off. I think a large part of scrapbooking is learning to adapt to what you got. And sometimes that means going ahead and pulling a whole new pack of paper. Sometimes that means working with the scraps you've got just to make it look appealing. But I think we just got to learn to be really adaptable in our scrapbook layouts. And that makes it a lot easier to enjoy our pages. All right. So we can stick these photos down. And if you're looking at the sketch on my book here, you'll notice we really don't have a whole lot more to do. I'm going to grab my zero centering ruler here just to get the height the same. And when I'm putting 3 pictures in the middle of a page like this, what I like to do is kind of make my outside borders pretty close to the same. They may not be exactly, but pretty close. And I'm eyeballing that. I've been getting ready for Croptoberfest, so I've been cutting lots of things for my make and takes at my Croptoberfest. That has taken all of my time since our last trip. So we've got those on. I feel a little bit of sticky right there. Let's look at what's left. We basically have the whole bottom section done. We need another photo here. They've done a journaling box here with a circle, and then a little side swoop there, just a little corner border. So let me look at that corner border first, because I was already thinking, and part of the reason I wanted to cut this off was I really like this little corner that says Fur Baby Buddies. I like the buddies part just because my granddaughter was not real wild about getting another cat, but she sure does seem to enjoy this cat now. If I cut that and slide it here, yeah, that doesn't really do what this border does, but I'm going to go back and add some plaid along the top of that, I think. Now, how is the easiest way to cut that? I don't really know. I think I'm going to start. Yeah, it's hard when you start playing with triangles. I'm going to cut this to be the same size as this initially. And what I'm really wanting is for this to look, just to open up this Fur Baby and Buddies right there. So I'm going to stick a little tape on this. And y'all, I know there's an easier way to do this. But, you know, sometimes your brain just doesn't work correctly. And you just have to do it the way that works best in your mind at that point in time. And here's where I am today. Then I'm just going to cut off that excess. So I've got that part. And I think I'll go back with just a little strip. No, I don't like the way that shows up against this Fur Buddies. So let's just cut another little stripe of this. I mean, I've already messed up the side of that piece of paper anyway, right? I'm just lining this up to give me a good sight line. I lined it up right on the edge of that piece right there. And then I'm just going to go back and add that in. I like the way that closes that in. So let's go ahead and stick this down. I like the fact that in doing that, it's actually giving me a title. The Fur Baby and Buddies is, you know, it acts as a title, even though it's not necessarily titled per se. I want to interject here. One of the most asked questions I'm getting right now is, what are you going to do when you finish the sketchbook? I don't know. I kept thinking, well, I'm not going to finish it before the end of the year. Right now, I'm getting a little stressed because I think we will. But don't worry. We'll continue to bring you videos as long as we can. And Creative Memories does so many virtual crops and blog posts. And it'll be easy enough for me to keep going using some of those. So I'm not really worried about the whole situation. Now, I had these two pictures as well that I thought were very cute. These are the two cats meeting each other, perhaps not so happily. The black cat, Lottie, does not love having a playmate. And Crazy Daisy really just wanted to play. And I love this of Daisy's little face. She's just as cute as she can be. She's cute and she's real lovable, but she's an interesting cat. I'm sure a lot of you have your own little fur babies that are just the most wonderful things in the world. Okay. If you notice, what I was trying to do was get those even top to bottom. I'm going to cut this one right up next to her. And then what I'm thinking is, yeah, I think that needs to go there. Instead of doing that circle for journaling, I'm just going to add that extra square right there. And then I think I'll do my journaling and put it right across the bottom part of this picture where I've got that extra space. So to continue with the look I've got going down here, I'm going to go ahead and attach these to the pink. I'm leaving a pretty small border on this. I don't want it to be big and overwhelming. And I'll tell you, when I started thinking about this layout, my first thought was I would do all these pictures in white first. I didn't. I think it looks good. I like them on that pink. It's fine. They would pop more on white, but that's just very time consuming to do every single thing in a basic double mat. So I'm happy with the look of this layout. I'm going to slide that up under the edge here. And you can tell my page does not have near the space on it that our example page does. But I really did not want to go to 2 pages on this particular event. And I got the most important pictures in there. So when I left pictures out, I left out this one because she's laying on somebody in both of them. I didn't really have to have that. And this is another where the 2 cats are getting to know each other a little bit. And I felt like it was dark anyway. I like this one better. So those are the only 2 pictures I left off of this layout that I had. Now I have tons of stickers and they're cute. Cute, cute, cute. I just don't know that I'm going to have room to use stickers on this. Let's see. I do like these little paw prints, and I only need one of those. So let's pick up this cute little paw print, and we'll make that go right along this seam right here. Yeah, that's pretty cute. And then let's see if there's something. Oh, perfect. My human loves me. How perfect would that be there, or even right here? Yeah, I like that. My human loves me. And there's a blanket in the picture right there. I think I'll add that in right there. And you know the drill. We're going to pull out the foam squares. This is a sticker. So I'm going to foam square on all 4 corners just to make sure it doesn't flop. So that's going right there. On our sketch, it did have a cluster of embellishments down at the bottom. It had them further over to the corner. I moved them strictly because I don't want to cover up any of her little body and cover up that blanket. That was a little distracting. Now, what else could we add in here? We don't need those. Do we want to add? You know, sometimes it bothers me that the cat doesn't really match the cat in the picture. And we have this one that matches their Lottie. We could do something like generic, just the cat tower. I'm okay with that. That gives us some height there. I've got a lot of dead space down here to cover up, so I'm definitely not opposed to doing that. And the reason I left the dead space was just because I wanted all those pictures to be the same size. And then maybe add that extra heart down there. That brings in the My Human Loves Me and the little paw prints. And I can stop anytime, but y'all know how I love embellishing. And maybe instead of bringing it down there, I take it up to the top. Or move it completely and put it here. I'm going to tell you, this human loves this cat because she shared her blankie. That's a big deal for her. Yeah, let's put that right there. And then I'm going to add just one more little pink heart up there. Yeah, you know, I can't quit. This little area is a little too small to add a full-size foam square. So I'm just going to cut that in half and add it in right here. All right. This is going to be it, I think, until I add my journaling. I like having that extra little pop of pink there. All right. So here we are until the journaling is added. I'll do that and decide if I'm going to put any embellishment stickers up there or not. But here we are. This is page 89 in our sketchbook. And until I see you next time, happy scrapping.